Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mission Dharma. We are just about at start time. I'll give it just a couple minutes. I know people like to trickle in, so we'll just give everyone a few minutes to arrive and really be here. But since you're already here, you can move from being here to being just a little more fully here. So just really being aware of your seat and just taking a breath. You've done the hardest part. You've arrived. So thank you for that. And for as many of you as are willing to turn your cameras on, that would be so wonderful. I would love to see your faces. Even if just for when we say hello, if you'd like to turn it off during the sit, no problem. Hello. Wonderful. Well, as people are coming in, I will just introduce myself. You might recognize me, and that's because I sit with you every week. And so I've been sitting in this group here at Mission Dharma for about 6 years now. And so it's such a delight to be here with you on the other side this time, but right here practicing with you as always. And my name is Laura Cannon, and I am a longtime Dharma practitioner, student of the Dharma for about 25 years now. And I'm also a certified meditation teacher. So it was right before the pandemic, right at the pandemic, actually, where a dear meditation teacher friend of mine, Vicky, who I saw is also joining us tonight, told me about Mission Dharma. So even though I don't live in San Francisco, I'm all the way out here in Maryland. I was so grateful to have this as a resource. So thank you to all of you for being in this Sangha. It's been so wonderful to sit with all of you. And I've studied in a blend of different traditions, including the Insight Vipassana meditation tradition and also the Tibetan tradition. I really love sharing the Dharma. And sometimes people ask, well, are you a Dharma teacher? I like to think of myself as a Dharma DJ. I didn't write the songs, but I like to play them and give them my own spin. So that is what I will be doing tonight is I'm going to DJ some Dharma for you. And of course, our most favorite thing to do together is actually get into our practice. So as per usual, we'll do about a 40-minute sit together, and then we'll share some Dharma and have some time for questions and reflections at the end. But first, please, I would love for you to unmute and say your name and say where you're calling from. If you're willing to be on camera, amazing. If not, I'm sure you have a very good reason, and I support that.
Hi, Jeff, San Francisco.
Hi, Jeff.
Kate, Frederick, Maryland.
Hi, Kate.
Hey Laura, Paul from San Francisco.
Janine from Vancouver Island.
Hi, Linda from
Mary from Richmond.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I heard two people at once. I heard Mary from Richmond.
And Linda from Santa Rosa, California.
Hi, Linda. Good to see you.
Katie,
Go ahead.
Katie from San Francisco.
Katie.
Claire from Fairfax, California.
There you are. Hi, Claire.
Cecilia from Scottsdale.
Cecilia, another of the Mission Dharma board members. Oh, I'm also on the board for Mission Dharma, along with Noemi and Mary and Cecilia as well.
Hi, Charlie Costello from Rockport, Maine, formerly from Berkeley, California.
Hi, Charlie. Hi, Charlie. And Noemi, I heard your voice in there too. Hi, Noemi.
Vicky from Vancouver Island.
Hi, Vicky.
Welcome.
Hi, Vicky, who brought me to Mission Dharma in the first place, also over there in Vancouver Island with Janine. Wonderful. And Noemi, the true originator of being in the mission. Noemi, wonderful to see you.
Ilya from Mill Valley.
Hello, Ilya. Thank you for being here.
I'm Beck, and this is Walt. We're in San Francisco.
Hi, Beck. Hi, Walt. Hi, Puppy, also.
Hi, Laura. I'm Rosemary from Frederick, Maryland.
Hi, Rosemary. Thanks for coming. I love it when the Dharma worlds collide. So
Hi,
great.
Michael from New York City.
Hey, Michael, another East Coaster. I love it. Holding
Yeah.
down the late side here with me. I love it. Great.
Stuart from San Francisco.
Stuart, good to be with you.
Keith from Berkeley.
Thank you, Keith, for helping out. So wonderful to have a co-host. And hi, Marigold. I see you there. I don't know if she can hear us, but I see her.
Okay, Jill from Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada.
Hi, Jill. I was wondering if we'd have our Canada folks here.
Finally. Hi, it's Sharon from San Francisco.
Hi, Sharon. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I see Trisha now on camera too.
Hi, Mary from Santa Barbara.
Oh, and there's Marigold.
Maureen from Regina.
Lost the sound Maureen. For a while. Yeah, you're kind of going in and out there, but I did see your green box light up, so I think we can hear you. Good. Well, wonderful. So I'll invite everyone now to just go ahead and mute. If you didn't say hello, well, I welcome you all, and I say hello to all of you, and thank you. This is one of the three jewels, the jewel of the Sangha. It's just such a delight and pleasure to be able to practice with people. You know, I know you've heard Howie say before that when people say that they're having issues in their practice, one of the first things he asks them is, are you practicing with others? And when you practice in a group, it's really just so supportive for practice. So kudos to all of you for being here. All of your energy matters and supports all of us. So let's go ahead and get ready for practice. I will ring a bell at the beginning and the end of practice. So if you want to turn your cameras off, you're welcome to do so. And there is no perfect posture for meditation. We could be standing, we could be sitting, we could be lying down. What's most important is that we're finding a posture that allows us to maintain that balance between being alert and also relaxed and at ease. So for many people, they find that happens just sitting up nice and tall. You might imagine that a string is pulling up from the crown of your head to get your vertebrae nice and stacked. You could roll your shoulders a few times and let them settle back and down. And you can let your palms rest one on top of the other comfortably in the lap. And the jaw can be relaxed. You might even place the tip of the tongue right behind the front teeth at the top of the palate. And you can practice with your eyes closed, or if it feels more comfortable to you, you can also practice with your eyes just a quarter of the way open. And you'll see that I move between both in practice. So if you're feeling a little sleepy with your eyes closed, you might try to just open them a quarter of the way. Have a really soft gaze, so we're not staring at anything. We're just letting our gaze be really loose, like it might be if we were looking out from a beach onto a horizon line. Not staring at anything specific, just resting the gaze. Or letting the eyes softly close. So you might begin by simply bringing your attention to your breath, noticing the felt sensation of the breath in the body. And you can even simply notice this is breathing in, and this is breathing out. So there's no need to change the breath in any way. This might be the first time today where you have focused on the breath. Good news, it's happening anyway. So there's really nothing we need to do. We're simply just noticing. This is the sensation of the in-breath. And this is the sensation of the out-breath. So we're making a direct contact. We're intimately noticing the experience of the body breathing. You might notice that some breath is shallow, while other breath might be deeper. But I invite you to let your attention drift towards the place in your body that you feel the breath the most pleasantly. So this could be the rising and falling of the chest, the expansion or contraction of the lower belly. You might notice the temperature around the outer edges of the nostrils and the upper lip. A slight cooling on the inhalation, a slight warming on the exhalation. So we're really just immersing ourselves in this boundless resource that resides inside of each one of us. This boundless awareness that knows this is breathing in and this is breathing out. And so we can let this sensation of breath be an anchor for us during our practice. So if we find that the mind wanders, or we become distracted, it's no problem at all. Noticing that that has happened is just part of the practice. So if you notice that, just kindly and gently bringing yourself right back to this sensation of breathing. And it does happen that sometimes the breath doesn't feel like the most supportive anchor for you. Also not a problem. We can also become aware of the points of contact that the body is making. So noticing where your legs or buttocks meet the seat, the surface that you're seated upon. Noticing the contact of clothing on the body. Or the places where the hands make contact. The contact point of the lips, or the upper and lower eyelids. These points of contact, whether it's the sensation of the breath or the sensation of the body, are all quiet invitations to return right here to the present, fresh wakefulness of this moment, again and again. And during this time of practice, knowing that there's nothing to figure out, there's nothing to achieve. Having arrived here, that's enough. Just being right here in each moment. No greater mountain to climb. Just the mind filling the body and the experience of the body filling the mind. If awareness has dimmed, it's no problem. The destination is right here. Every moment is both a new beginning and a realization that we've already arrived at what we seek. Just simply knowing each experience as it arises, dwells, and passes away. Not clinging or resisting, simply letting come and letting be. And in this way, we can find rest, deep rest in the true nature of our sky-like mind. Notice if you can find a meditator who is meditating. If so, letting go. Just letting be. Nothing to do, nothing to achieve. Just resting in this open nature of the mind. let's dedicate the merits of our practice together. May all beings be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May all beings experience joy and its true cause. May the fruit of our practice be the highest benefit for all beings and all things everywhere. May all beings and all things everywhere experience the joy, clarity, dignity, and fearlessness of peace. May all beings and all things everywhere have peace. Thank you so much for your beautiful practice. Really felt all of your strong energy. It's like birds flying together in a flock. So it's so nice to practice in that way, where sometimes we can just float on that energy and just be aware of that collective support. It's just really so beautiful. So I thank you for this opportunity to practice. So I'm going to hold questions or comments till the end, and just kind of get right into what I was going to share with you tonight. So full disclosure, I am really humbled and honored that Howie asked me to fill his seat tonight. So I, of course, spent a ton of time preparing for this talk. And when I was teaching during COVID, I also lead a group on Zoom. And when I was teaching during COVID, I remember just feeling like, what should I be teaching? This is such an important time. Things are so scary for everyone. What do I, there's so much good Dharma. What do I remix here? And I asked my teacher, I said, what is the most important piece of Dharma to teach right now? And he said, well, that's easy because the answer is always the same. It's what's fresh. It's what's alive for you right now in your own practice. If you speak from there, that's what brings benefit. Of course, that's also very vulnerable. And so in that spirit, I scrapped the entire talk that I prepared for you. So we'll see how it goes. But I did do that. So I want to start with what the Buddha would always start with, was that saying ehipassiko, which basically means come and see for yourself what's true. You know, don't believe what I'm telling you. This is not a dogma to be adopted, but simply try it on and see if it fits. There's a new artist named Lola Young, and she named her album title, This Wasn't For You Anyway. And she said she named it that way so that if people didn't like it, that's okay. So in that same spirit, you know, I always think if there's something that really resonates for you, great. And otherwise, if I say something and it doesn't land for you, it's totally my fault. And so please feel free to let it go. So what's alive for me now? Well, I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, so I'm on the other coast. And so I'm not sure how in your consciousness the walk for peace has been. Okay, good. I see some thumbs up. And I know that Mary Gold mentioned it last week. But since the monks are here in DC and they've been traveling up the East Coast, it's really been in the consciousness here. And I, even before I did this talk, I thought, well, let me just go on some of the major news sites, and I didn't see it posted anywhere. So I really wasn't sure how aware people would be of it. So just so if it is new to you, what's been happening is that a group of venerable monks who began 108 days ago in Fort Worth, Texas, have been walking for peace. And they're walking from Fort Worth to Washington, D.C., where they just arrived today and gave a lovely talk. And they were also in Virginia, which is basically a stone's throw. And in these past few weeks, they've been closer to where I live here in the mid-Atlantic. And during this time, the weather here has been brutal, probably not so brutal for those of you who live in Canada, but we've had -10 wind chill, we've had ice storms, we've had snowstorms. Even when I would go outside to my car, I would feel the tightening, even in my 2-second journey from the house to the car. And I kept thinking about those monks. And I kept thinking about how day after day, step after step, they were making this journey. And maybe because I was experiencing the weather that they were experiencing, it made me feel even closer to what was going on. That they were walking so peacefully in these conditions. And the Venerable Panyakara, who's been giving their talks, was saying how people didn't even really know about their walk until early in their walk, when one of their monks was hit by a car and was critically injured. And he ended up losing his leg. And people were saying as they went through Texas, we didn't even know there were monks in Texas. And so he said how he was hoping that he would meet some people on the road and be able to share this message of peace, and that he brought about 1,000 of these peace bracelets with him. And that as of when I heard him talk in Virginia just yesterday, he had given out 100,000 already. And he said that what he's been learning and practicing this whole time, all they've been doing, is mindfulness. He said, for us to practice and walk on this journey, we study and practice every day. There's no other way that we could be of any help to others. This is the way we help others, by doing our own practice. One of the messages I really appreciated that he shared is, don't expect anything, even peace. We have to work for it ourselves, and that peace really does begin within. And like anything, it's one thing to say that you practice something, and it's another thing to actually altogether walk your talk, and they are literally walking it. And I think probably many of you have been walking your talk, because on Thursday, it will be 30 days since Howie issued us that challenge. That challenge of, for 30 days, from the time that we wake up to the time that we go to bed, could we have everything be our practice? Could we actually live the Dharma every moment of the day as if everything was life on the cushion? And if you weren't here for that invitation, I'm continuing. I'm going to keep walking that walk. I heartily invite you to join me in this practice of keeping this practice going day and night, this practice of mindfulness and awareness that brings so much peace, that reminds us of our own peace. And for me personally, as a meditation teacher, I'm always really, really interested in watching how other practitioners respond to things. So even when I'm watching how Howie answers questions that people ask, because it's not just what someone says, but it's really what's being transmitted. What's that energy, not just what they say. It reminds me of, if you've ever been a parent, or you've seen a child fall down, and then they look back to the parent to see what their reaction is, so they can know how hurt they are or not. That we kind of look to see and feel, what is the response that we're being given. And so that's of particular interest to me. And I too have been in this 30-day practice where everything I'm observing, I'm bringing it into this practice. I have heightened interest around what I will call high intensity situations. How do teachers respond in high intensity situations? So, in the spirit of confessing my own delusions, a place for me that requires a great deal of mindfulness is being in situations where someone is embodying what I would call zealotry. So I've had situations leading my own Zoom meditation where it's been Zoom bombed. We've never had it happen here at Mission Dharma, but where people have come in and started yelling things like saying that meditating is against Jesus, that we're all going to hell. Like, this has actually happened while I've been leading a practice. And for many reasons, that particular set of circumstances really triggers my nervous system. And I know that we all have situations like that. Even if you're 10, 20, 30 years in your practice, we all encounter situations that cause our nervous system to go into that fight, flight, and freeze. And when that's happening, it's even harder for us to respond. So that's when it really matters that we've trained in responding instead of reacting. Because in those moments, we really have to slow way down. We have to be mindful of what's happening in our nervous system, that we've shifted into this different state of being. And we have to do it with a great deal of care and of mindfulness. So it was with particular interest and curiosity for me when I saw Venerable Panyakara deal with 3 different high-intensity situations over the past few days when I've seen him. And I wanted to share those with you because they were really impactful for me in my practice, and I think that there's something we can all learn from them. And the first, which, as you know, would have been triggering for me, was that a man blocked their path and had a megaphone and was really heckling him and saying things that, you know, Jesus was the only path to peace, and that this peace walk was harming people because it was leading them astray. And it was very loud and it was very intense. It felt not how I know peaceful to feel in my body. But watching how Panyakara listened to him with compassion, even as this man was telling him, "You're going to hell," he said, "That's okay. I'm okay with going to hell. If that's what happens, it's okay. I love you and I wish you peace." And that man, you know, it's so easy to other, you know, it's so easier for us to say, like, well, that was just that man's issue. But when he came back, he said, "Don't you understand? I love you too. And it feels to me like I'm watching you in a burning building and I have to save you." And he just, again, responded, you know, "Thank you. I love you too. I love you too. And I want peace for you. Do you feel at peace?" And the man replied that he did. And then in that point, the monk just said, meeting his energy with peace, "Now please let me pass. I will be okay. You will go your way and I will go mine." And just watching him respond like that was really inspiring. Someone was being very aggressive and he met it with complete peace and compassion, truly walking the walk. And he shared that over, you know, the past 108 days, they've encountered many people who've cursed at them, yelled at them. He talked about people stepping on their gas to create lots of black smoke that the monks would then have to walk through. And he said, you know, they're just torturing themselves. And he added that the more that you react to toxic people, the more they love it. So don't react. That we should only respond with kindness, that spirit of you go your way and I'll go mine. Then there was another situation in Virginia where a woman was really completely taken over by what the monk was sharing. And you could tell that it was really overwhelming her, and she was having an experience that was very loud, and there was crying, and she was emoting, and she started yelling, "You're the Messiah." And he stopped talking and he turned towards her. And first he said, "Are you okay?" And then he said, "You are okay. You're going to be okay. And you are okay." And then the people that needed to support her were able to support her. Everyone got silent. They held a space. It was met with complete peace. And him responding in that way set an example that was more than anything that his talks could have said. It was deep equanimity in these very intense situations. I found that completely inspiring for my own practice. And then yesterday, when they were in Virginia, he was in the middle of the talk and there was a medic situation and people started yelling "medic." And so he made sure that's what they were saying. He said, "Okay, medic." And he said, "Everyone, please stay calm. We cannot do anything but make a way for the doctor and the helpers to come." So he paused and he made sure that the doctors and the helpers were there supporting. And then he said, "Okay, what I would like for all of you to do is to put, your left hand on your heart, put your right hand on top of it, close your eyes and feel your heartbeat. Feel the beating of your own heart." He immediately had them all become still to connect inside. And he reminded them that there was nothing that they needed to do to help this person, that this person was getting the help that they needed, and that the most supportive thing that everyone could do would be to stay in peace. He said, first, we have to have peace. We can't give something that we don't have. It's just not possible for us to do that. So he stood there and he maintained the integrity of this container that he created. Then he harnessed the power there and turned it towards a living, beneficial practice that provided so much support in that moment. So watching the difference between someone skillfully responding and someone reacting, seeing that in action is incredibly moving. And we're all having opportunities to do that all the time in our own life. If we're waking up and treating that morning alarm clock as our bell for practice until we close our eyes at night, we're encountering a lot of situations throughout the day where our tendency is probably to react. And so we have to bring in this spirit, this attitude of mindfulness, of bringing that energy inward. We have so many things happening in our environment that are pulling our attention outward. I love that one of the things that the bhikkhu says is he calls the phone our lover. So he says, you have your lover with you all the time. Your lover is with you in the bathroom. Your lover is with you in the bed. You never forget your lover. Wherever you go, there your lover is. And it's just this humorous way to think about it, about how much time our attention is being taken away by algorithms, by technology, by people screaming. So even as people were yelling, and today in DC, again, someone has been following and having these kind of counter messages, should we say, for the past leg of the journey. And he was saying, when we hear sound, we're just hearing sound. Let it be sound. Instead, often what's happening is we're taking it in and we're letting it stick. We're hearing what's said, and we know how it is. When we receive a compliment, we might get 20 compliments. Do we remember them? It's like Teflon, right? Just goes right off the pan. If one person gives us a negative comment or a side eye, it's sticky. It's really sticky. And so we have to be really mindful throughout the day. And this isn't a practice that we do once. This walking for peace isn't something that they're doing one time. The message is that we need to be walking this peace into our lives, step by step, person by person. It was all really inspirational to me, and it reminded me of that Zen story that Thich Nhat Hanh tells about the crowded refugee boats, where he said, even if one person on the boat stayed calm, that was enough. It showed the way for everyone to survive. So we're each in our own boats. And, I've often heard Howie say, we're not just practicing us, but for the people that live with us or the people that encounter us every day. We have people in our boats, family, friends, acquaintances, people that we see at the store. All of those people are affected by the energy that we are bringing to any situation. If we're coming with that energy of groundedness and settledness and peace within our own mind, if we have learned how to do that, if we've practiced how to do that, we can show the way for others. He told a story at one of the legs on the trip where a woman was asking him, she was saying that she was really poor. And she asked him, will I always be this poor? Will it always be this way for me? And he said, if you have a handful of sticky rice, do you want another handful of sticky rice? And she said, well, of course, we always want more. And he said, and that's it. When we're always wanting more, it's never going to be enough. That we have to recognize what's already in our own hand. So if we're wanting more peace and we're wanting more love, the only way to do that is by being more peaceful and more loving ourselves, by recognizing the peace and love of our own heart and mind, of the true nature of our mind. When we recognize that for ourselves, it becomes an opportunity, an invitation, a beacon for others. It's so powerful. So as the Dharma DJ, I thought I would share some of my favorite tracks from what Venerable Panyakara has been teaching on this journey. He teaches something different at every stop, but there's been one thread that he's been teaching the whole time that I think is so simple and so beautiful and so powerful. And that is, he has been telling people to write down on a piece of paper, today is my peaceful day. And he said, it's very important that you write it down and that you read it, you look at it over and over, and then that you say it. See that alignment, body, speech, mind? So he's asking us to bring all of that into alignment, to really line up and say, today is my peaceful day. When we do that, it reminds us that peace is actually in our hands. It begins with ourselves. I've had to watch for myself, where is the place or the places in my life where even after all of these years of practice, that I know my peace can get a little bit rattled. We all have those places. And also sometimes, we might be sick. We might not have our vital energy with us. We don't have as much capacity. But being aware of that is really important. Being aware of the things that commonly pull us out of our peace. Just noticing, oh, so something I wish someone had told me a whole lot sooner on my Dharma path, many, many years sooner, was that when this is happening, when it happens that you find that you are not aligning with your intentions, I wish someone had told me that it's not because you're doing something wrong. And it's not a reason to beat yourself up or have self-judgment and self-blame and think that you're bad at it. No. This is a practice. It never ends. It's a practice we'll always be engaged in. And in that practice, a very important part is compassion. Really being compassionate with ourselves. That compassion that Venerable Panyakara was sharing on this journey. Having that level of compassion for ourselves. I think the tendency sometimes is that when we make this intention to have a peaceful day and we get knocked off of our peace, the first thing we do is we put in that double arrow. First arrow, ugh, something happened and destroyed the peace. Second arrow, it's my fault that I let my peace get destroyed. That's so common. So I share that because I wish someone had told me earlier that that part, that's the not necessary part. We don't have to do that part. So things will happen. You will get knocked off of your peace. And maybe we can all aspire to really be the type of practitioner that I saw giving these talks, that I saw responding to those very difficult situations. But we all have our triggers and we all have our buttons. And the only way that we start uninstalling those buttons is through a great deal of compassion and loving kindness and mindfulness, really giving it to ourselves, like, it's okay. It's okay that I just lost my peace. Because just like we learn in meditation, what happens when the mind wanders? What's the instruction? Just bring it back. Just bring it back. It's really interesting to notice when you bring yourself back, what is the attitude that you have when you bring yourself back? Just look and see for yourself. What's true in that moment where you realize, I've been thinking? Is it like, oh, I'm thinking again. Oh, I suck at this, Or is it like thinking? Or is it like, oh, silly mind, thinking, here we go again. Those are all three very different ways to be noting and becoming aware. So as we become more and more aware, I think that compassion piece is really very important. He also talked about how we miss out on our peace because of rushing and multitasking. He says we don't even go to the bathroom without taking our phone. So even when we're brushing our teeth in the morning, we're often rushing. We're in our mind, we're into the next moment. And he gave this really great example. So again, not mine, just remixing for you, that I really loved and I think was really powerful. He said, how many of you, after you brush your teeth, and you get those specks on the mirror as you're brushing your teeth and on the sink and on the basin, how many of you wipe it up every time right afterwards? Okay. And so not many people raised their hands. And he said, okay, that's okay. It's just laziness. And he said, that's something that we could start doing. We could start wiping that mirror. And he says, because what happens is when we're mindfully or mindlessly getting these drops everywhere. And then we let them harden. And then we do it the next day. And then we do it the next day. And now we've got this film of drops all over everything. And, you know, of course, you've had at least one experience of wiping that off immediately and it comes right off. But what happens when you try to wipe it off after it sat there for a week? You might need to use some kind of spray on it. You might need to scrub at it. So that laziness, as he says, is actually us just making it harder on ourselves. We're obscuring things. How much harder is it to clean if we let something accumulate versus if we wipe it off immediately? So he compared that to thoughts and experiences and even sounds. Like I was saying before, let it be sound. Just let it register as sound as opposed to letting it accumulate in the mind and heart. It's better just to let it pass on through. And in this analogy, the mirror is really reflecting what happens to the mind. So the more that we can purify it in the moment that the incident occurs, whatever that is, the more we can practice non-reactivity, non-clinging, letting go, letting be, and wiping it away, the clearer we'll see things. We're not looking through the toothpaste haze. We're seeing things clearly and directly. So in this way, then, we're not carrying it with us. We're purifying in real time. And that is how we change our lives. He said, if we do this, if we focus on just this one thing, if we're just mindful of distractions, just mindful in these ways that we get distracted, just that could change your life completely. So the invitation from this walk was really, from now on, choose peace for yourself and don't waste time on anything else. Work on peace for yourself. When we do that, then together we change the world. We're dedicating the merit of that. May our own peaceful hearts go to the strengthening of peace in this world. Imagine if everyone put that kind of loving kindness and compassion out to the universe. Like a mirror, it would reflect back. So the more that we can do this in our own lives, the more that we can start imagining and dreaming a peaceful world together. So tomorrow is the closing ceremony with the monks. And so in case you weren't aware of this, they are in Washington, D.C. Over here. We're all over here. So send loving kindness our way and really, amplify this message of peace, especially in Washington, D.C. And remember that compassion and peace are really possible when we practice it. When we walk it down to the feet ourselves. We have to walk it down through our own feet. We have to be the living example of that by offering it to ourselves. Being loving, being kindful, all of that to ourselves. So just as Howie has invited us to do over these past 30 days, you'll recall actually that he started by telling us about one of Deepa Ma's teachings. Do you remember he told us that she said, if you can't walk to your goal, crawl? Do you remember that? If you can't walk to your goal, crawl? Well, today in DC, for the first time since that monk was hit by the car, he rejoined his walk and he was in a wheelchair. And as soon as I saw him, I immediately thought of that Deepa Ma teaching. And I thought, if you can't walk to your goal, you can also roll to your goal. He still found the way. He still got back on that walk. And I have complete confidence that you can all be this beacon of light and peace in your own lives and that your commitment will benefit others. So I did bring the link tomorrow. I think this is what I saw someone flash up in the chat. Tomorrow from 4:30 to 7:30 Eastern, so 7:30 p.m. No, 1:30 p.m. your time. 1:30 to 4:30 to 7:30, so for 3 hours, starting at 1:30, it will be broadcast live, and he is going to be leading a global peace meditation. So it's going to be happening live at George Washington University, but you can also join. So I did bring the link, and I will put that in the chat as well. But thank you all so much for letting me sit in this seat tonight. I'm just so humbled and honored, and thank you for staying with me, and all of you who showed up from my Sangha as well. Very sweet of you. Thank you so much. And I did want to open it for comments or questions. I'm just going to go ahead and gather this link, but you can go ahead and just unmute yourself. I take comments, questions, and refutations. But as I already told you, that's the part that makes me a little tight. So there you go. Here's the link for tomorrow if you want to join the Walk for Peace Global Meditation. I put it in the chat. Mary, did I see you unmute, Marigold? Maybe that was unintentional. Okay.
Well, I'd like to say something.
Please,
This is
Trisha.
Trisha. I really, really appreciated your talk and your spirit. It was just really inspiring. And I will confess, I did not do the 30-day. I didn't even think I possibly could. But now I feel like I want to start. So there was so much in there that made me believe that maybe I could do it. So thank you.
Oh, Trisha, oh, that warms my heart so much. You absolutely, I'm 100% confident you can do it. Because just like in meditation, we lose our mindfulness. We get lost. That's going to happen. But we're practicing that attitude of what we do when mindfulness comes back online. And if we can treat that moment right there as a moment of celebration, like, oh, look, it came back, like, oh, I didn't even have to do anything. There it is. Because it kind of arrives again like that. So if we can see it and start to relate to it in that way, then the whole thing becomes pretty fun. So I'm excited you're going to join us. I love it. I'm going to keep going. Let's go. Another 30 days. Here we go.
Okay, I'm on.
And then the rest of our lives.
I do have one little question if nobody else is dying to get in. When you were giving when the monk was giving the analogy to the poor woman about the rice and saying the sticky rice in one hand and would you want it in the second hand? I mean, I didn't quite get the message on that because that seems like then you'd have no hands to do anything else with. And it almost sounded a little greedy, like, of course I want more. I want more, even though maybe one handful's enough. I didn't quite understand what he was
Yes,
trying
I
to
think
convey.
that maybe it's probably completely my fault for explaining it poorly. Again, this was what happens when I riff, but he was trying to say that she responded that she would want more. And he was saying, that's the problem. The problem is that we're always leaning into this wanting more mind state. And when we're in the wanting more mind state, then it's pretty impossible to being okay with whatever we have. So he says, if I have one handful of rice, that's enough. And the story actually began, he was carrying a book and the woman asked him for the book. And like, how do I get the book? And he said, oh, if you want this book, I'll just give it to you. And she said, no, you're a monk. You don't have any money. I couldn't possibly take your book. And he said, no, I have benefactors and people, they buy 5-10 books at a time. It's no problem. You want this book, I'll give it to you. It's freely given to you. And that's when she shared with him, like, how can you like, I know you don't have anything. How can you do it? Because I feel like I have nothing and I can't do that. What's the difference between you and me? And the difference is that attitude of it not being enough, needing more. We already have enough already. We just have to see it. Thanks for your question, Tricia.
I have a comment actually. This is Ilya from Mill Valley, right up the street from Howie. I really appreciate your talk. And one thing I was actually thinking about this past week that I was going to ask and whatever, and it really helped what you said as I've practiced more over the last few months and gone to retreat, I often start to feel like a bit selfish, actually, right? That, oh, I'm just spending time, like I'm so peaceful and relaxed, like I should be doing more, right? And we've talked on this call, like, about all the things that are awful that we could be doing something else. So when you did a really nice job of like addressing that, and that we have to do it ourselves first. So I appreciated that a lot, actually. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, I often say at the end of my dedication, the benefit for self and others. And I've had someone ask me, well, why do you say self? Like, aren't we doing this to give it all away? And it's for this same reason, that it's not self in this selfish way. It's coming
Right.
from this wisdom place of knowing that when we're in this place of the altruistic heart and mind, that heart and mind that recognizes that we all want and need the same thing, that we all want and need peace and happiness, when we reside in that place, that's a great service to
Right,
others.
right.
So I'm glad it gave you permission.
It did, actually. Yeah, super helpful. Thank
Great.
you.
Practice away. May we all be
Appreciate it.
fortunate for those conditions. Those are wonderful conditions. Excellent.
Laura, I think there's two people with hands raised. I got Noemi and then Agila.
Okay, that sounds great. Noemi?
Thank you, Laura. That was wonderful. And thank you for bringing up the Walk for Peace. I have the story about the rights. And I don't know what the woman's circumstance was. And I appreciate the spiritual answer he gave, which I feel very true to myself. I live very modestly, and I have enough. However, I'm also political, and sometimes the conflict, especially when I hear that I don't know what the woman's situation was. I also feel that although I like that monk, I've been listening to him myself. I also feel that there is a part of the Dharma which is connected to the political realities of what we're living. And to me, to say that isn't enough for me, and maybe that's my grade, but not for me. But I was thinking, I heard Oprah many years ago saying the same thing to somebody, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. And I think that the reality for so many people. And that's what I want to reconcile with. How do you bring what he was saying, which I agree with the fact that we have people who are homeless, people without food in this country? How do you reconcile that spiritual gift that he gave with the fact that, hey, if you what is it, the Maslow hierarchy?
Yeah, the hierarchy, yeah.
Whatever. I mean, I'm telling you, if you have an empty stomach, it's pretty difficult.
Yes.
To do what we're doing and to talk about what this group. I mean, that I have a lot of privilege.
I thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Noemi, for speaking voice to that. I'm sure a lot of people share that. So I really just want to acknowledge and appreciate you and say thank you for speaking that. I know a lot of people feel that, I don't know if I want to use the word confliction, but they feel that questioning, and I think all we can do is really live into that question. So when the feeling of it being unreconciled arises in us, one of the practice questions I ask myself when that feeling of unreconciled arises is like, who do I become when I feel this way? What do I embody when I'm feeling this way? So I would really just say it's more like pointing a curiosity for now when something's unreconciled. I don't know that there's like a coming to it with a conceptual answer, but more like a lived truth experience that, deep bow and respect to, I'm sure many that are walking that right now of really trying to, what's right action? What does right action look like along with peace? So I have no answers, but a deep respect and a heartfelt wish that that becomes resolved. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know we're out of time, but I also want to be able to answer your question as well. So that's where we are. So I will say, if you have a quick question, I would love to address it or answer it. So go ahead and unmute. And if you have to go, I get it.
Is that okay with everyone? I don't want to keep you after. I'll make it as quick as possible. I'm Luke, not Ajala. Ajala's right there. Thank you so much for your share. There's so many things to think about, but happily I did not take notes, and I just took away a couple things because.
Great.
But I think 30 minutes before I came on, I was talking to my sister, and she has been going through some puzzling health symptoms, and culminating in a test result that got back tonight that she might have blood cancer. And so, I felt myself kind of going numb and but also present at the same time. And there's been so much upheaval, obviously, in many people's lives, but particularly in our family's life in the last few years. And I'm just keep rocking, getting rocked by it. And it's definitely meditation. I mean, I have a history of wanting to numb myself, and have tried to move out of that, and notice more when I'm numbing, when I'm or just being here. And I kind of have some confusion around what, like if you have experience with like particularly with shocking news or upsetting news or that period of numbness that we get, or maybe just I get it, I don't know. And or is it like, because I feel also like I was here and heard her and I didn't leave my body or anything. I just was like, so anyway, I don't know, maybe comment on something about, it almost seems like I'm grateful for my history of numbness because it just, there's something similar to being present and being numb. It's like I don't know. It felt like it's helped me in a way. It seems like it would oppose each other, but in a way, like I don't want to be out there. I want to be right here internally, but it's not exactly full presence. So I don't know if I'm making any sense, but
I feel like I picked up what you were laying down. And I also feel like you answered your own question, which is that you are holding both of these things. And something Joseph Goldstein often says is, and was it in awareness? And was it happening in awareness? So you described that you were not disassociated, that you were aware of the sensation of numb, which is a sensation. And that's all we're experiencing. We are experiencing different sensations, different places in the body. You were also experiencing present moment awareness. You weren't gone, you were there. But as you described, it feels like in some ways that's been supportive for you. Not something that you necessarily want to habitually fall into, not something that you want to cling to as a way of being, but that you're noticing that it's arising. And so that's what I would say. I think it doesn't sound like there maybe is a conflict there. So if I can give you permission to say that, yeah, you're feeling it, you are feeling it all. Like more presence just looks like more awareness. And what you described was someone describing to me with awareness.
okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Hope that helps. Yeah. And I'm very sorry. I wanted to also add, I'm very sorry to hear about the challenges you've been going through and with your sister. And it is so devastating. And when we receive shocking news, like I said, we each have our things that, shocking news, the body does have freeze, flight responses. So just knowing that, sometimes that's not in our control, but we can know that's what's happening. That's our agency. We can know this is what's taking place. This is my best right now. And giving ourselves a lot of loving kindness. So thank you all so much. Oh, I'm so grateful for all of you and your crazy patience for staying with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I wanted to invite Keith back to share all of the important announcements. Thanks for your hearts.
So just very quickly, and again, thank you very much, Laura, for coming in and sharing. Donna is what makes this whole Sangha and the teachers and the passing on of wisdom possible. Put the note in the chat, but any way that you can give back, either monetarily or there's always opportunities to volunteer, please do. And if you can't, your presence here is a gift as well. Also, there was a note in the chat. There's a request from the board to just get some feedback about the timing. We've shifted to 6:30 for a few months and just wanted to get that feedback. So in the chat, you'll see there's a email. And if you could just send this is great, nope, prefer the 7 o'clock or the half an hour later, wherever you are, just that would be great as well. So see the email that's in the chat. And with that, Laura, all yours.
Oh, may the merits of our time together, may they spread and flourish and bring peace and joy to all beings. May you all be well and happy and healthy. And I wish you a wonderful night. And I'll see you again when we practice together next week. I'll be on the other side with you.
Thank you. That was a
Thank
great
you so
talk.
much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Love you.
Sorry, I had a little problem with my iPad.
Thank you
but
so much.
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Yeah, please unmute and say goodnight. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.
Night.
Yeah.
Thanks
Good
for the
night.
link to the monks.
Oh, yes. Wonderful.
Okay.
Join.
All right.
Bye, Laura.
See you next
Bye,
Thank
time.
Lo-
Amy. Wishing
Thanks,
you
Laura.
peace.
Beautiful
Bye,
job.
Mary. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Great talk.
Thanks. Bye,
Bye,
Michael. Bye, Charlie.
Lorraine.
Bye, Katie. Bye, Maureen. Bye, Cecilia. Bye, Nuria.